So Blizzard is making this boycott easy.
This world is a prison.
Initially I wanted to do something about why I don't particularly care for this Shadowlands trailer, but that more morphed into why I don't particularly care for Sylvanas as a character. Some might ask, hey, why are you doing a video on this subject if it's something you clearly kinda hate? I would respond with, well, I never want children, and being a loser is a great contraceptive. In any case, 1, it's fun. 2, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. It's not hard to talk about why this story is terrible, so it's easier to look like you know what you're talking about. And yes, it is somewhat derivative. We can't all be visionaries ahead of our time.
Dr. D, I can't believe you're just now getting cable.
I thought it was just a fad.
Yeah, I saw that clip a month ago and have been looking for an excuse to use it. I live a full life. Well, as I was saying, the reason this doesn't work is simple. Sylvanas is a boring character. This isn't the first time I've made the statement that one character can ruin a story. Thankfully, this was a 3-minute trailer, not a 2-hour movie, though this is a part of a rather long, on-running plot in a game that I play. It frequently shoves its story right in your face. I mean, I've played Warframe for like 3,000 hours or something, and I still have no idea what the story is in that game. They just do not care to tell you if you're not interested in finding it, and that is fine with me. But yeah, you decide which one is worse. 3-minute trailer with hours of backstory, 2-hour movie that was kind of disappointing. I bring this up because I feel like this arc has a lot of the same problems that Black Panther had. I'll get into why later. Surprisingly though, I didn't always hate this character. She was pretty neat in Warcraft 3 into Wrath of the Lich King. But this was with a specific context. You see, in Wrath of the Lich King, Sylvanas was used to great effect. Specifically in the ICC dungeons, where she's used as mostly a foil or a juxtaposition to Jaina. Both these characters have a relationship to the main antagonist, but their motivations couldn't be more different. One is out of pure revenge, the other because her former best friend turned into a monster. The differences in these motivations come to a head when Arthas finally dies. You see, in the original story, Sylvanas kills herself. This works because it makes the point, intentionally or not, about the hollowness of revenge. As a Stoic might put it, people exist for the benefit of one another. Jaina's ability to see that allowed her to go on living after the deed was done. Sylvanas' inability to know that left her unable to live past her revenge. And that works very well. Though maybe I'm just reading into this like the people who insist that the big-titty blonde girls in anime are about Western temptation or whatever. But whatever, I choose to look at it this way, and I think it worked in that context. So to me, her post-revival antics kind of ruined the character. When it's at its worst, they sort of make her look kind of stupid. Look, as much as progressives and edgy teenagers hate to admit it, right has a tendency to make might, not the other way around. Karma is not a cosmic force, but people don't like being around a-holes. Unlikable people tend to lose in the end because they alienate people. Don't piss off the whole world if you don't want to die. This is a fairly simple thing, and I find it amazing that this character, who we're told constantly is a genius, fails to realize this. Her actions are so counterintuitive, it's kind of amazing. Sylvanas' lack of an interesting motive is on full display in the current expansion. You see, when they were doing the initial advertising for this expansion, they did these animatics, I think that's the right word, shorts called Warbringers. And maybe this is the fault of the advertisers being better than the story writers, but you have Jaina's Warbringer short where you get to see Jaina's motivation, where she blames herself for the ongoing conflict. The destruction of her home, the innocence lost in Tidrasil, the weight of her ancestors looking down upon her, judging her as unfit. Her people making her out to be a monster, and her realizing that they are 100% correct.
Beware of me.
Knowing that it was her naivete that led to her father's death, and it gave her nothing in the end. and then the determination to know that she has to do everything she can to make up for it. Side note, they kind of ruined this halfway through the expansion, but it was still a great setup. Then you have Sylvanas, who burned down a tree on a dare. Oh, and I guess hell kind of sucked. No wonder Blizzard says it's easier to write for the Horde. Yeah, I don't like this guy is a lot easier to write than I don't like me. Well, anyway, that lame motivation, hell kinda sucked, is why I don't find the character particularly enthralling in her current form. This is just sort of expected, and like Killmonger before her, doing the expected thing isn't that interesting. I've said it before, but I don't think characters necessarily need flaws so much as they need contradictions. And if you don't have a character with any contradictions, that's a boring character to me. I've likened it to a robot before. They take in input and export actions. A good character moment is when you give two characters the same motivation and the same things happen to them, and they come out with different conclusions. Because that's how people act. And that's how Sylvanas' latest character interactions come across to me. Not necessarily bad, but more robotic. This gets the job done, I guess. Well, anyway, if we relate this back to the Shadowlands trailer, it's fairly boring to watch someone act who just feels like they're reacting to circumstances. We got a robot fighting someone we barely know here. That with Mary Sue levels of focus on the character, you know, they had 3 CGI cutscenes to use up those old Warlords of Draenor models, and she was the subject of all of them, despite not being in 2 of them. Makes the trailer uninteresting, because it's watching someone I don't know fight someone I don't care about. Even in other expansions that were just a fight scene, you could say that they were more symbolic. Well, those are my reasons for disliking Sylvanas. Her initial motivations were good in the context that they were written in, but later were kind of blech. That combined with her almost robotic reaction to events makes Sylvanas an uninteresting character to me. I don't really know how to end this, but thankfully The Sopranos set the precedent that you don't really have to
To ask why we fight is to ask why the leaves fall.
Gravity, you fucking retard!